Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 5 years we've been asking the Franchipreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, and I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. We're meeting with Mike Schlegel, the vice president of development with Dogtopia. And Dogtopia is the premier provider of dog daycare and boarding, and customers can drop their dog off at Dogtopia and let them spend the day socializing with other dogs, running around, and burning off plenty of pent-up energy. And that's coming right up on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we got a great show.
Are you one of those special people who are willing to go after your dreams and goals? Are you ready to fulfill that dream of owning your own business with the security of a proven brand? The opportunity to take control of your future and own a Rita's Italian Ice franchise is within your reach.
Rita's is seeking success-oriented individuals who are ready to make a change in their life, and Rita's offers unparalleled training and support to assure your success. And did you know the frozen treat industry is a recession-proof industry, and there are Rita's in 23 states currently with 540 stores open. Rita's Italian Ice has been around for 25 years and is listed as a top-performing franchise by the Wall Street Journal.
Now here's the really good part. Rita's Italian Ice is a unique and amazing taste treat. It's smoother than a snow cone, and it combines ice with real fresh fruit. The real fruit adds dramatically to the taste, and it comes in over 40 flavors. The ice and fruit are mixed on site and made fresh daily, and it is delicious.
You'll want to know more about this exciting and successful franchise opportunity. Go to www.ownaritas.com and get all your questions answered. That's www.ownaritas.com to take control of your dreams and future today. You don't want to wait any longer to be a part of this adventure. www.ownaritas.com.
Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? For over 4 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get inside tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Check out our weekly franchise radio show, where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. Get 3 months of free advertising when you sign up for our 1-year package. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 5 years we've been asking the Franchipreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, and I'm the president of Franchise Interviews. And as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. We're meeting with Mike Schlegel, the vice president of development with Dogtopia. And Dogtopia is the premier provider of dog daycare and boarding. Hey, Mike, how you doing today? Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you.
It's great to have you on, Mike. We've actually referenced you. You wouldn't know this on the show. We've referenced Dogtopia. Anyway, I think your wife Amy Nichols, who founded the company. When did you become involved, Mike? And what were you doing before joining Dogtopia?
Sure. Well, it's an interesting story because prior to Dogtopia, I rode the wave of the internet and telecom industry in the mid-'90s, and living in the D.C. area, you're either in the telecom industry or you're someone that did, and it was kind of that one degree. of the internet world. So I rode that wave in various sales and sales management positions. And ironically, when I met Amy, she was also in the telecom and internet world. So we had obviously had similar experiences with respect to that.
Right.
But relating to Dogtopia and how we all originated, I had won a sales, top sales position trip to Hawaii the following year. And at that point, she had her dog Griffin, her Boston Terrier, and we needed a place to board him for that week.
Right.
Really didn't have many options at that time, and it was a lot of the more traditional kennels at that point. Yeah. And after we came back from our trip a week later, you could tell he was stressed. He had levels of anxiety. He was separated from the other dogs. He had lost his voice for the most part because he couldn't even bark. He had just been kind of being stressed out, and he wasn't eating. Had actually lost a couple of pounds, and he's only a 15-pound dog. So it was very sad for her to see that after just a short week away. And that's really when she had that epiphany. She said, "There's got to be better quality dog care, around this area," and there really wasn't. Especially here in our county, there were no dog daycares. There was no place that dogs could interact with other dogs in a playful, open environment. And that's really when the light bulb went off. And she said, this is really, I think, an opportunity. She had always been a big animal lover. She worked at pet stores growing up, and had rode horses and always involved with animals. She trained her own dog growing up, and so she started to brainstorm different ideas. And she had looked into the dog bakeries and pet retailers and different businesses that were out there. But dog daycare, number one, a very underserved market. There really was nothing available, but also she was looking for a model that had sustainability, where you had that customer flow on an ongoing basis, where you could truly build long-standing relationships with your customers.
Wow. I mean, it's such an important service. I mean, the dog really is, a part of the family, particularly today. I would say that the pet is certainly elevated in society. And that story that you told, we had a similar experience with our Labrador. She's not with us anymore. But coming back home from the kennel and not being able to even bark, and you want to break down and cry. You feel awful.
I think she did.
You wonder what happened during that week, So it really is. It's a wonderful and important service. So Amy, she created the system, and then what's a little bit about, like, if you can go into the history of Dogtopia, as far as franchising and why she I guess decided to franchise the concept as well, Mike.
Certainly. Well, at that point, and she, in addition to being the founder and CEO, she's definitely the visionary. I mean, her vision is 3, 5, in some instances 10 years out in terms of where she sees business. So even when she was, starting to develop the first store, I think in the back of her mind she knew she was going to have multiple locations. How that all worked out from a structure standpoint, she was unsure about, but she knew it was more than just one store. So that first store that was open, ironically, there was a lot of, this is the internet bust of 2002, and there was tons of layoffs going on. She actually left 2 years prior, so she actually saw that coming to some degree, and that's why she got out and started developing her own business plan and getting financing from the bank to create the business. I actually got laid off from my position in telecom, but it was a perfect scenario because it was 2 weeks after we had just started our first store. So they paid me my 6-month severance, and I said, "Well, thank you very much. You just paid for our living expenses, so I can go start a new business." So
that's something. That's
really perfect timing. And, I look back, and sometimes a situation like that can turn into a positive, and certainly did for the two of us. So I worked with her for the first about 6 or 7 months, literally doing everything. I mean, we had a very small crew of employees, but we ramped up very quickly, and from everything from bathing dogs to working the front desk to being in the playrooms with the dogs. So it was really a great experience for me because she would come home and rather than coming home and telling me what her day was like as a new business, I was there working with her the entire time. But at the same time, we're also newlyweds, And it's we were getting to know each other, obviously, as newlyweds do.
Right.
My own career goals and what I wanted to achieve from a sales perspective. So with that single store, I said, let me venture off and do something I wanted to do for a couple of years.
Right.
And that worked out fine. I actually went into medical sales for about 3 years. But at that point, the store really, we knew we had something special. I mean, the store had blossomed. And at that point, she was in a position to open up a second store. And that's really when someone from it's an interesting story. Someone got off the plane at Dulles Airport, was going to the IFE Expo, the franchise expo down in D.C., and saw our sign on the highway, gave us a call and invited us down to the expo. And that's really what introduced us to franchising. It would never really crossed our mind prior to that. It was all about our own stores, and we at that point we were very impressed with the IFE and all the vendors and the booths and exhibitors. And she looked at me and she said, 1 year from now we're going to be an exhibitor here.
Wow!
And we put the plan in place, and we worked with getting licensed and putting together operations manual. A lot of that had already been in place, but there's a formal process behind that. And we were in a position a year later to start franchising. So that was 2005. So it was about 3 years of fine-tuning our operations. We obviously made some mistakes along the way, but that's a great trial and error period when it's just you and your own store in terms of systems and procedures. And we were in a great position at that point to start capitalizing on what we had built.
That's great. That's a great show, by the way. The one in Washington, it really is. I think they call it, sometimes they refer to it as like the Super Bowl of franchising. But it's a great story, I mean, how it's almost like God intervened a bit, in getting you guys into the world of franchising. So it's fantastic. Where does Dogtopia fit into the pet industry right now? Like, and what makes you guys unique? If you could tell our listeners a little bit about that, that'll be great.
Sure. Well, it's an interesting industry because it's just been exponential growth over the last 10 years, and I'll just go back to 10 years because I know the numbers when we started in 2002. It's growing at about a rate of $2 billion a year in total growth, and that's it could be everything from vet care to pet food to our services, which is daycare, boarding, spa sales, grooming. So it really is just astonishing to see that type of growth. But the difference with our industry, in our sector within industry, is that there's about 4,000 or so dog daycares out there, but there's only about less than 300 or 400 that are actually connected, whether it's through franchises or company-owned stores. So it's very fragmented. There's not a lot of consistency in the offerings and how the services are set up on the back end or conveyed to customers on the front end. And that's really where Dogtopia is uniquely positioned because we have the systems in place. We have a true kind of franchise system where everything is in place, how to operate the business, how to find the right locations, how to negotiate those leases, how to set up and build out your facility for optimal operations and functionality and also profitability. You have that opportunity where all of that is in place, so it makes it very advantageous to go that route as to try to be on your own island trying to reinvent the wheel. So there's that portion that I think is definitely unique in our system, but it's also just some things we've been doing over the last couple of years. We know that with that as fragmented as it is, there's an opportunity for us to really set the standard when it comes to certifications, and that's something we were working on with Jacob Hunt, our VP of Operations, and Amy Nichols. We're working on creating a certification process and program with our franchisees as well as the employees at all of the respective stores. So there's levels of certifications both online and on-the-job training that can be completed to really raise the bar in terms of how the business is run.
Wow, that's something. And I think you guys have done a very good job at branding, too. I mean, I've always been familiar with Dogtopia. The name is very recognizable to me. Again, I'm not sure if it's because I'm in franchising or not, but, I think you guys have done a very good job at branding. Who gets credit for the name, Dogtopia? Is that Amy?
Yes.
It's a very clever name.
It is. It's interesting because we several years ago when we first started off, we had a different name, Happy Tales, and while we love the name, when we went to franchise it, we realized there's about 400 Happy Tales around the country, whether it's shampoo or vets or clothing.
That's true.
We would almost have to become full-time attorneys going into all these markets, and Dogtopia was the right fit to change towards for franchising purposes. It has more of a recognizable name, and almost, I don't want to use big box, but it has that larger type brand name behind it, and that was something that she definitely saw, and we recognized as being a name that we could lead with, going into any market across the U.S.
Well, that's great. So what kind of characteristics do you guys look for in your franchisees then, Mike?
Oh, well, there's definitely several. It's interesting because we want everyone to have an entrepreneurial spirit. I mean, you have to have that first and foremost.
Yeah.
The love for dogs. It is a dog business.
Right.
I've been told that I sometimes use the word peopletopia, where you have to have a love for dogs, but you are working with employees.
Right.
Employees, you have your customer service and working with your customers. You're also out in your community, building relationships, working with like-minded business owners. So there's the marketing and sales side. So there's the people aspect there. So the dogs are very important. We wouldn't be here without the dogs, but it's very much a people business, and that's something that you have to have those qualities and feel confident walking into a vet office and introducing yourself, or feel confident building those relationships at the front desk. But it is definitely a situation where you have to be self-motivated. I mean, it's with any business, you need to feel confident and motivated, each and every day, to build your business. So we look for that. But we also know that you have to be able to take a system and plans and implement that. You need to be coachable and understand that along the way there's going to be bumps. But reaching out to the resources around you is very important. We know there's going to be mistakes along the way, but knowing you have a support structure behind you that you utilize, honestly, is really where people can figure things out and understand that I'm not alone along the way. And one of the things that we've done is we've also implemented the business coach as part of our support services to our franchisees. So you have the home office team, we have our support, we have our intranet, you have the weekly and monthly communication and touch points with us, but it's nice having a business coach that can also work with you that's separate from Dogtopia, that can work with you about balancing personal and work goals. It's very hard opening up a new business where you're working a lot of hours, you're trying to make things happen, trying to build your business, and it's very easy to get distracted in terms of things, whether it's personally or family, and that business coach is a great opportunity to have this open communication, actually separate from home office, but able to be able to relate to some of the individual experiences that franchisee is going through.
Wow, I think that's a great part of the service, Mike, is, having that business coach. I mean, there's so many benefits, of course, to having a coach, as, of course, they make you accountable. I think, they help you with, motivation and planning and things like that. And just knowing that the coach is there sometimes, I think, you just want to stay on top of everything. So I think that's so important. You mentioned, coachable. What's the training like for your new franchisees then?
It's very comprehensive. We know that when you're first starting out, that there's with any business there's risk, but you minimize risk by being prepared. And so we run a very comprehensive training. It is here at our home office in Bethesda, Maryland. We're about 20 minutes outside of Washington, D.C. Our home office is both one of our retail stores as well as our home office team. So when you're here for that 2-week period, we have a working store that's been open for 6 years, in addition to our home office team. So during that 2-week period, you're having the team meetings, working with different programs. Some of it's reading and writing assignments. Some of it's on the job, where you're working in an active store at the front desk, doing dog evaluations for customers. You're learning that process. You're also in the playrooms, learning pack management behavior and how to manage those the dog scenarios that come into play. but you're also learning all of the back-end support, understanding QuickBooks, understanding the financial aspect, how to interview, screen, train and hire employees. So there's a lot of aspects that are important to feeling confident going back to your town and unlocking your door to open up the business. But this really is just stage one. I mean, stage one is the initial training. That really is what triggers the ongoing support, after your doors open and we're back on site with you at grand opening and starting your business. But there's a lot of things that go into play with that. We understand that the more that we provide, the better prepared you're going to be. One thing I'll note that we've done, and credit to Jacob, our VP of Operations. He comes with a very strong HR background. We restructured a few things within our home office team over the last several years, and one of the things that we identified is, while it's important to train the franchisee, it's also important to train the franchisee in order to train their employees. How do you train your employees to run the business? And that's something that you have to be able to assign those tasks, teach them how to do it. So our training program is not just about training the franchisee how to run the business. We're also coaching them how to train their employees once they get back to their stores.
Wow, yeah, that's another interesting aspect of your franchise as well. I think that is so important. I imagine a lot of new franchisees would have trouble, with that part. I think it's very difficult to, learn to train other people, so I think that's fantastic. What's a typical day like for a Dogtopia franchisee, Mike, if there is such a thing as a typical day?
Well, it's never the same day with the dogs, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And that's why we love it. There is, and all the franchisees will attest to that, there's never the same day when it comes to the dogs. You always have different dogs, different personalities, and that's what makes it exciting. There definitely is a lot of fun being in the playrooms. Of course, everything's on web cameras, so not everything that we're witnessing in the playrooms, our customers are viewing while they're at work on vacation. So they have that opportunity to log on and literally see their dogs each and every day. So that aspect is fun and enjoyable. But it's also from an ownership standpoint. Initially, we've seen a split between franchisees that are full-time, taking an active role in the business, putting their stamp and work ethic on the business, and sharing their vision of where they see the growth of their store with their employees. Because ultimately you want to be able to replace yourself, and so that you can work on higher-level aspects of the business. But the other side is we've seen very successful operators that have also brought on managers from day one, and they've brought that manager to training. So not only is it the owner, but they also have a very reliable, competent manager that they've identified that they bring to training. So that also helps them preparing for the business and running the day-to-day aspects, so they can be out doing more marketing activities and doing some other things, as opposed to sometimes being at the store all the time. They're able to divide and conquer with having that full-time manager.
Right. It sounds like they're working on the business as opposed to working in the business kind of model, which I think is interesting as well. I think that's fantastic. So what are your plans for the future then? I know that, Amy, she's probably able to, say that, 5 years, 10 years down the road, where you guys are actually going to be. What would you say to that? I mean, as far as the future goes, Mike, 5 years down the road maybe.
Sure. Well, we definitely have plans from additional units. Our existing markets are doing very well, so we do have plans to grow where we are, where we've already built the brand, where we have a loyal customer base. Definitely have plans to do that. Many of our franchisees are in a position now where they're considering and looking at second stores, so that's a great plan for them and helps build that market. In addition to the fact that we also see a lot of strength and opportunity to open up a couple more company stores. We have 3 right now. We'll always have company stores, and our biggest benefit there is that we can always relate to the franchisee. It's so important when they call us and they're in Texas or North Carolina or wherever their store is located, and they ask us, I'm dealing with the situation. I'm not sure how to work it with this customer or with this employee. What do you recommend? And we can say, well, we just dealt with this with our store last month, and this is how we got through it. And these are steps A, B, and C. So there's a lot of there's a lot of benefits of having that and being able to relate to our franchisees. So the idea of having those company stores are definitely an important part of Dogtopia, in addition to growing where those existing markets are. And then lastly, Amy identified that by building and restructuring her home office team, it helps her in some of that bigger level thinking. And so there's also products that we have in mind that we're actually developing right now and going to market with that'll aid our stores in better utilizing the services and how we manage the growth of the dogs in the playrooms and the overall structure of the facility. So there's other things that we're working on to help grow and take Dogtopia to, out, as you mentioned, 5-10 years from now. So there's a lot of things we're working on from that aspect, because we know it's important to not become complacent and feel like going through the motions. We're always trying to come up with new ideas to help the owners run better stores, but also help grow the whole system.
Wow, I like the whole corporate concept as well. It's interesting you're talking about that, Mike. We were having a conversation, Don and I, with another franchise that's coming on the show in February, and they were mentioning the same thing, for the same reasoning, is opening up some corporate stores so they can relate, like you said, to the franchisee better, So I think that's fantastic. It seems like you guys are doing everything right, so it's really, you guys have a fantastic franchise system. What's the best way for our listeners to get more information on becoming a franchisee or get more information on Dogtopia? Is there a website they can go to or a number they should call?
There is, definitely. The website is dogdaycare.com. So we've got a nice domain there. You can also always go to dogtopia.com. But dogdaycare.com is our primary address, and there's a franchise link there with additional information about our system and how to get in contact with us. Our main number is 888-DOGTOPIA, so you can also call that and reach us directly at home office.
That's great. I want to thank you again, Mike. You've been a fantastic guest, and we'd love to have you back as you guys continue to grow.
I would welcome that. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mike. You have a great day today. And we'll be right back with more franchise interviews.
Franchise Interviews. For over 4 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get inside tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Check out our weekly franchise radio show, where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And don't forget to listen to our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Need a business loan? Talk to Diamond Financial Services, the experts in franchise financing nationwide. Whether you're looking to start a franchise, acquire an existing franchise, or expand your territory through opening new locations, Diamond Financial stands by your side start to finish. From pre-qualification to packaging and presenting your application to securing a financial commitment and through the loan closing process, Diamond Financial is there. While you're waiting, thousands of others are making their financial dreams come true. Don't wait any longer. Pre-qualify now by completing a confidential, no-obligation financial analysis. Let's face it, traditional banks just aren't in the business of financing small business. At Diamond Financial, we specialize in securing franchise loans from $100,000 to $3 million and equipment leasing up to $150,000. Let us help you get started. Go to www.franchisefunding.net or call 877-508-2274. That's franchisefunding.net, 877-508-2274.
Hi everyone, this is Marty McDermott from Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. And today's podcast is being sponsored by Diamond Financial Services, and Diamond Financial is the nation's #1 source for business loans with over 50 years of combined experience and established relationships. Financing solutions can be applied to business acquisitions, franchise purchasing or startups, building and leasehold improvements or expansions, equipment purchases, debt restructuring, working capital, franchise fees, or simply the buying out of partners. And if you want more information on Diamond Financial Services, you can click their logo right on our show page of this podcast. Today's great quote in franchising is by Dr. Robert Needham of Franchise Inc. And Dr. Robert Needham is also a franchise author. And we had him on our show, it was about a month ago. And typically on the show we'll ask, what advice would you give to an aspiring entrepreneur looking to buy a franchise? And I thought his answer was brilliant, so here we go.
Another question we'd like to ask someone like yourself, Dr. Needham, is what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise?
Well, first of all, it's interesting. I believe they have to first find out who they are. Meaning, are they prepared to work with employees? If not, then they don't need to be buying a business that's going to have a lot of employees. They need to be in a business that's maybe just them or maybe one or two others. Right. Once they do that, they really need to decide what it is they want this business to do. We have a lot of people call us and say, my wife's a great cook. I want to run a restaurant. Right. But there's a big gap between being a great cook and being a restaurateur. Right. And so what we do is we try to find out what they really, the old saying, I believe, I don't know who actually gets credit for originally quoting. It's certainly not me, but the old saying that people don't buy drills because they want drills, they buy drills because they want holes. That's right, yeah. What we try to do is find out what is it that they really want, and the franchise is just the vehicle to get them to their dream. So often when we're talking with them, we find out that it's freedom or financial independence, which, is really freedom still, and they really want to be able to control their own destiny or some of those kind of things. So then we start looking at the business, and we start explaining the business from that direction, and it's really independent of what the business does, because there is no perfect business, as you know. Right. Every business has something that's not great about it. And every business has something that's super fantastic about it. And we try to help them understand those various things.
That's interesting. We had a couple guests a couple of weeks ago, Dr. Needham, from Fish Window Cleaning. There was two young gentlemen. They worked for Enterprise Rent-A-Car for many years, and they were very frustrated. They were working 50, 60 hours a week, I think it was, Don, they were mentioning. Right. And they were surprised at first. They ended up in the window cleaning business. They said in a million years they never imagined buying that kind of franchise. But it just match what they were looking to do. They just wanted flexible hours where they can get home early and spend weekends with their family and things like that.
Right. They did a lot of due diligence and a lot of questions and points of what they wanted in a franchise system, and that met most or maybe all of what they were looking for.
Right, and they're very happy now, So, but yeah, it was just interesting. They never pictured it in a million years.
One of our top female consultants was regional.
I love that quote from Dr. Needham. It's a famous quote. It says, people don't buy drills because they need a drill. People buy a drill because they need a hole. And, the same thing applies to franchising. People don't buy a franchise simply to buy a franchise. People buy a franchise as a means to an end where they want more freedom or they want to spend more time with their family. So, once again, another great quote in franchising. So, again, we hope you enjoyed this podcast. And